So we have to look how we have been living in the past maybe 20 or 30 years. For those of you, when we were young in our childhood, we used to play outdoors, right? We used to play games. If you recognize any of these games, like playing outdoors or playing with erasers at class or playing with bottle caps in class, type in the chat me. Type in the chat me if you recognize any of these games when you were playing with your friends when you were younger. We were very exposed. Our senses were more in tune to outdoors. But what is happening today in this world? Today, we are seeing children constantly on their screens, right? Let me ask you a question. If you walk into a restaurant or if you walk into any cafes, families with children, majority of the time, the parents are exhausted and they're just giving their devices to their children because that's the only thing that will keep them quiet or will keep them sitting still, eating dinner together or eating lunch together. If you actually notice those things, if you actually notice that children are now constantly on their devices, type devices in the group chat right now. Type in devices in the group chat right now if you recognize that a lot of children nowadays are just constantly on their iPads, their tablets, their phones. It keeps them sitting still. And what we don't recognize, thank you, Lisa, what we don't recognize is that all these screens over time, it affects their development. It affects their brain. As children, their skulls are much smaller and their brains, their heads are much smaller, their skulls are much thinner, which means that EM radiation affects their development more compared to an adult. There are a lot of different types of pollution around the world. We have air pollution, noise pollution, water pollution, which we have solved it with our Kangen water machines. But the silent killer that anyone has not been talking about is electromagnetic radiation, or short is EMR pollution. This is from NASA. If you recognize or if you look around your living room right now, there's television, air conditioning, lights, LED saving lights. You have your phones, devices, or for those of you who are fancy, your massage chairs, you have your sound system surrounding you. All these kinds of devices are emitting EMR radiation. So if you look at this video right now, it's like a wave. And imagine this is in your living room, this is in your bedroom. This is happening constantly 24/7. Would you allow your family members to sit in a living room like so with all these rays going through you and affecting your body? That would be, if you were able to see these rays, you'd be like, no, I don't want to stay there, right? Like, I don't want to put my family or my parents that I love so much to be in the room that affects their health. But this is a silent killer that we are not seeing, So there are different types of EM radiation sources. We have, like I earlier mentioned, there's air conditioning, there's a TV, your high tension cables, your microwaves, your electric plug switches, your iPhones, or not just iPhones, but all phones, digital smartphones, your laptop or your desktop. Let me ask you a question here. For those of you, if I took your phone away for one day, do you think you can live with them? If you can live with them, type LIVE, live with them. Oh wait, if you cannot live with them, let's type a 1 in the group chat. If you cannot live with your phones for one day, type 1. I'm gonna type 1. You know why? Because when I go out the house, I need a Google Maps or a Waze or a GPS location to actually go around Malaysia. I'm really bad at roads, so I cannot survive without my phone. Lisa, Rani is feeling the same thing exactly. But for some of you, like, yeah, maybe you could live with your phone without your phone for a day, but you would feel like something's missing, right? Like a limb of yours is missing. You're like, constantly like waiting by the lift, you're no longer scrolling, or like you're sitting on traffic and all of a sudden like, your phone's not there, All these simple gestures is actually affecting us. Why? A lot of our phones for women, where do we put them? Where do you think we put our phones for women? Women usually put their phones in their handbag. But for men, guess what? They have no handbags. Maybe this trend in Paris right now, they're carrying like sling bags, but men are usually putting their phones in where their pockets. And their pockets is near their waistline, their hips is near their reproductive organs. And it affects it. Or even, or not Chinese businessmen, but the majority of businessmen who wears coats, they will put their phones in the front pocket, right? Which is near the heart. So it affects your organs unknowingly, but it is affecting you over time. Or for those of you who live with an aircon in your home, if you have an air conditioning, type air conditioning or aircon in your home on a group chat. I have an air conditioning, it's blowing at me right now. But when you sleep, you turn on the air conditioning. You wake up, you go to work, you jump into your car, it's also air conditioning. You're exposed to EMR radiation. You arrive at work, maybe you have a 9-to-5 job, you're sitting on your desk, air conditioning. After work, you come back home, sit in the car, air conditioning. And then you come back, you eat dinner, you go to sleep under an air conditioning. So what I'm trying to say is that you're constantly being exposed to EM radiation from all your surroundings 24/7, especially if you live in a city like me. I live in Ampang, smack in the middle of KL. It is congested, I'm telling you, but the EM radiation here is very, very high. There are two types of EM radiation that we're talking about. There's non-ionizing and there's ionizing. What is the difference? We are going to look into the non-ionizing part of this spectrum. But before that, if you see the red color zone, the ionizing, which consists of UV rays or X-rays or gamma rays, for those of you who've watched Star Trek or have seen Captain Kirk, what's it, Captain Kirk? I believe his name is Captain Kirk. He went into that gamma ray and he sacrificed for the greater good or something like that. That's the gamma ray. So it destroys your DNA in a very short amount of time. That's why we can't be exposed to it in a long period of time. Or if, for example, you have a friend, knock on wood, got into an accident, went into the EM emergency room, the doctor would say, hey, let's do an X-ray on this person. You're only exposed to it in a short amount of time. And if you actually see the MRI scans or X-rays, a lot of the nurses would like step away. They have a protocol of standing how far you should stand from this medical scans. Am I right? Yeah, because it emits EM radiation. And a short amount of time actually deteriorates your DNA. That's why we're not exposed to it. But what I want to bring your attention to is the non-ionizing part. The non-ionizing part of the spectrum is from 3 megahertz to 1000 megahertz. And we see here, what consists of those ranges are like your microwave at home, your cell phone, your smartphone that is with you 24/7, your power lines if you're staying near a high tension cable. If you notice, those properties near a high tension cable are a lot lower than areas where are more clean, if you notice that. So today we're going to focus on the non-ionizing wave of spectrum. Why EM radiation affects our body and how does it affect our body? Now, based on this Federal Communications of Commission's bulletin right here, this actually came out, if you have really good eyesight, you can squint your eyes, the OET bulletin at 65, it came out in August 1997. And based on this bulletin, it says that the human body absorbs radio frequency energy at some frequencies more effectively than others at the range of 30 to 300 megahertz. Such energy of EM waves can cause damage to cells and DNA, leading to an increased risk of cancer, mutations, and other health problems. So what does this mean? You're asking me, Eunice, what does this mean? It means that our body is most vulnerable. Our body is most susceptible to frequencies between 30 to 300 megahertz. Something outside of it, it may not affect us as much, but between the frequencies of 30 to 300, that's where our body is most vulnerable to. Yeah, so that's what the bulletin is trying to describe. And if you see this little visualization right here, this animation of the body turning around, did you know that our body is an amazing electrical conductor? Yeah, we ourselves are emitting a kind of frequency. And based on this table of body of organs, for some of you, if you remember during school time, they say you should listen to more classical music because it emits a kind of frequency that helps you to focus more or concentrate more. Why? Because it's affecting your brain signals. So just the same as this application can apply to here. Your brain emits a kind of frequency between 72 to 90. Your human body, 62 to 78, it's all between the ranges of like maybe 70 to 80. Pancreas frequency, your liver frequency, your heart frequency, and diseases starts at 58. That's why if we're not radiating any good frequency, that's when we're most susceptible to. So before I show this really quick physics video, for those of you who love physics, you might love this and you might refresh your memory. But we're going to look into how if different frequencies are functioning, like here, this man is holding a 512 hertz, it would not affect a 440 hertz. This is called a resonance theory. But if the same frequencies are happening at the same time and they're at exactly the same frequencies, it would affect one another. So let's have a look at this video right here called the resonance theory. Yep, so that is called the resonance theory. When they are radiating the same kind of frequency, it would affect one another. So that's what we want to look into. We have what we call a radiation detector. How do we know EM radiation is happening all around us? This is our measurement of instrument. It's the RD 9100. We currently in Malaysia have RD 9300. And we measure the intensity, the power density of this EM radiation. How does it affect our health? I will show you in a very short bit a simple demo of how EM radiation is coming up on your screen and how emGuarde is a solution to it. This is also taken from the World Health Organization. In 2011, WHO, a very reputable organization. For those of you here who are listening to this presentation right now, if you know WHO, type in WHO. During school time, and I was studying public health, WHO kept coming up in my books. So WHO even came out in 2011 saying, classifying that radio frequency electromagnetic fields as possibly carcinogenic to humans based on an increased risk for glioma, a malignant type of brain cancer associated with wireless phone use. So WHO is actually sharing this information, saying that they found a correlation that could possibly be carcinogenic between a use of wireless phone use. There's a correlation, but they use the word possibly there. And there's a reason why they use the word there, because if they claim it, oh my gosh, a lot of big companies will start suing them, right? So this is WHO that says this. This is also another research done long time ago. It's called the Low Level Radiation, the Invincible Killer. I have this book right here, but it's in Bahasa. I believe you can get it on online, like Shopee or some sort. I actually got this gift from a friend some time back. Don't ask me where he got it because I don't know, and I didn't ask him, but I believe you can get it online. So even this growing threat from electromagnetic fields has been going around, but we just don't have the solution for it. And if you see here, this little old CPU laptop, look at how old the model is. That's when you know that how old this book is. And if that's how old this book is, that means people have been trying to share and trying to bring the awareness how EM radiation actually affects us. So this is the crux of my first part of my presentation. If you see this beautiful rainbow chart right here, this is called the measurement for the microwatts for our radiation detector. So I have this electromagnetic frequency radiation detector right here. It's the RD9300. This measures your EMR in microwatts. So when you're doing this business or you're starting this business, I highly encourage you to invest in one. The company, invest in one. I think you can buy it from the office, Enagic office. Currently, I believe it's about 1,200 ringgit. But from here, if you see this beautiful rainbow here, there is slightly dangerous, very dangerous, and health hazard. Yep, and there's health hazard. So what does this mean? It means that, let me just put this, actually my screen just shut off for a little bit. How can I do this? Yeah. There we go, great. So how does EM radiation affect us? If you see the symptoms of long exposure for EM radiation, actually we got this from the bulletin. Oops. We got this from the federal FCC bulletin, like I mentioned earlier. Long-term exposure will lead to body and muscle pain, numbness, concentration, learning problems, memory losses, brain and leukemia cancer, fatigue and lethargy, dizziness and heart problems, heart problems, infertility. Now, a lot of IT people, if you're working in IT, you're constantly sitting down. If you notice, there is a correlation that there are a lot of IT people who are working in a department experience a lot of infertility. Headaches and migraines. For those of you here, has anyone experienced headaches or migraines from looking in the screen for too long? If you have, type 2 in the group chat. If you have experienced headaches or migraines looking in the screen for maybe an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, type 2 in the group chat. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, me too. It's because of EM radiation. Even the screen that you're looking right now on a laptop or a phone, it's actually EM radiation is affecting you. So that is one of the symptoms of how EM radiation affects us, but we just cannot see it. We feel it. Our body is showing us symptoms and is telling us something, but we just aren't aware of it. Thank you, Ronnie. Oh, did my screen just shut off? Oh, 1 second. Let's see. I see. Okay. If anyone from Enagic Malaysia, so someone just logged into the Zoom and became the host and actually logged me out. Enagic Malaysia, if you're logging in, please make me back the host so that I can share the screen. Sorry for this technical hiccup. Enagic Malaysia, if you're there, let me share my screen again. Let me just chat. Yes, so far, for those of you who are getting value from this presentation, thank you. You made me the host. Great. For those of you who are getting value of how EM radiation affects us, type 3 in the group chat. If so far you're learning something new, you're like, wow, I didn't know EM radiation is actually affecting us. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Mihaly. All right. Let's share the screen together. All right. Give me 1 second while I try to share this screen once more. Thank you all for your patience. All right, here we go. Continuing on, symptoms, eye soreness and blindness. During pandemic, do you realize that a lot of people are having poor eyesight right now? Do you ever realize that? If you actually realize that, type I, like EYE type Y in EYE in the group chat. If you notice that children are now wearing thick glasses or people are having poorer eyesight because of the pandemic, 3 years or maybe 2 years of staying home looking at screens all day, right? That was our only line of connection and communication. It affects our immune system, recovery. It affects your sleeping, your quality of sleep also. If you notice that you can't have a deep REM cycle sleep, because you are charging your phone beside your bed, beside your ear, or beside your head, that's one of the ways how EM radiation is affecting your sleep. Stress and anxiety problems, DNA mutation, skin irritation, and rashes. Now, Look at the spectrum once again, and I want you to remember the health hazard zone. The health hazard zone is from 1,500 microwatts to 2,000 microwatts. Now I'm going to switch screen once more back to me, and I'm going to spotlight my screen. All right. I have the emGuarde beside me. Oh, wait, this one right here. And I just realized I have clothes on my side here at home. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, emGuarde's right here. I'm going to do a simple demo with my radiation detector, the RD9300. And we're going to test my iPhone. My iPhone's iPhone 14 Pro Max. Take this off. Beautiful device. I'm going to turn off the emGuarde first. See? It's turned off right now. When it's turned off, there's no lights. You can't see a light there. But let me grab my phone. And great. So my phone's right here. We're going to test how much in microwatts my phone is emitting EM radiation. For those of you who have iPhones, type in iPhone in the group chat. If you have an iPhone, an Apple device, just type in Apple or iPhone, okay? And we're going to see how much EM radiation my iPhone 14 Pro Max has that I've been carrying around for me 24/7, right? So turn this on. I hope you can see the value here. Let's see where the light shines. Okay, great. Wow, look at that. It's 2,000 jumping to 2,000, 1,000. It's jumping around because wave and energy, it's like a wave, right? 2,000. My phone is health hazard, friends. But this simple demo is how EM radiation affects us. We don't know. We're talking to them on the phone constantly near our skull. We keep it in our pockets near our reproductive system, or we put it near our heart, which actually affects our body. But look, my iPhone 14 Pro Max is 2,000, 9,000, is jumping around. Can you imagine that? It's a health hazard carrying EMR device right here. Even though it's a great investment, I love it. But one of the interesting ways that I knew my phone was emitting a lot of EM radiation is because every time I was holding my phone, I actually got this phone for my birthday this year. Every time I was holding my phone, I switched from my iPhone 12 to iPhone 14 Pro Max. My arms started to get numb, friends. My arms started to get numb. If you've ever experienced holding your phone and your arms started to get numb, type numb in the group chat. If you've ever experienced that, or if you've heard your friends complain about it or your family members complain about it, type numb in the group chat. I know I had my sister's in-law who she had a same exact version of an iPhone. My mom also had the same exact version of the phone, iPhone Pro Max. I asked them, hey, did you ever feel numb? And they're like, I thought it was just me. And then I soon realized it's a common thing. But everyone's like, okay, my arm's getting numb. I'm going to switch it to this way, right? You just switch it. Or if you're talking on your phone for too long, your face starts to get hot, right? And then it starts to get sweaty. And then what do you do after talking 30 minutes to your husband or girlfriend or your partner? I love you, I love you. After 30 minutes, you switch, right, to the other side, right? This is called actually cooking your brain. That's why we have migraines, we have headaches. So once again, I'm going to show you how EM radiation affects our body. We know that it's emitting EM radiation, but okay, let's see. I've turned if you can see here, the radiation detector on. I'm putting it against my arm because if you see here, there's no EM radiation affecting us a little bit because I'm holding my phone. But there's not much EM radiation going through my body right now. But, so I'm close to my phone right now. Let me turn this off. If I turn on, for example, a video like Netflix, does anyone have a Netflix account here who watches or watch Astro or like around the world? My nieces, I have 3 nieces who lives in Canada, and they love watching, what's it called? The Peppa Pig or what other, oh, the unicorn. Yeah, they love it. I'm going to turn on a video right now and you're going to see how EM radiation travels through your body, and that's why your arm gets numb, right? So I'm going to, what do they like to watch? Okay, let's just go with like the unicorn one. I'm going to play this, and usually we watch our phones with the music on, right? Or you plug it in your AirPods, especially your Bluetooth earphones, which also emits EM radiation. So if you see here, I'm going to turn this on. It's 2,800. I'm going to go down my arm. If you see, look at that. Look at that. It's traveling down my arm. Earlier you saw it was 0. Now the number, look at how it's traveled down, at least to my elbow or my shoulder is done, but look at how EM radiation affects our body. Yep. And now that it's turned on, I'm going to turn on emGuarde and show you what emGuarde does. So with this turning on with the beeping sound, I'm going to turn emGuarde on. And it goes straight to 0. As you see, the little light here is turned on. It straight to 0. Yeah? 0. If I go near my laptop, it's still 0. Why? Because emGuarde is turned on. Yeah? So that is a simple demo of how this emGuarde product, this innovative technology, protects us from EM radiation. So if those of you who just saw that demo and you thought, whoa, that is something that is new and exciting, type in new in the group chat. If you've never seen a demo like this, who can harmonize the EM radiation around you, and you're like, I need one of that product in my phone because I have parents or my siblings who are constantly on their phones. They're constantly watching TV. They're constantly shopping online and they keep getting headache. Type in new in the group chat. All right, so back to our presentation. Earlier, I said, remember, keep watch of the value. My iPhone 14 Pro Max, who was it that said that they have an Apple too? Let's see. I think in the group chat, Muhammad Al-Jazmi. Yeah, he had an Apple too. We're not boycotting Apple. I'm just saying I've done this demo on Samsung's, Huawei, Oppo, all phones emits EM radiation. And my phone particularly emits about 2,900. It jumps from 1,500 to 2,700 and 900. And guess what? Is in the health hazard zone, which means that I spent 8,000 ringgit for a health hazard device that would potentially expose me to EM radiation for the rest of my life. But I'm not afraid because why? I have emGuarde right here. So that's a simple demo. Now, one of the interesting parts of why this emGuarde technology was created, now pay attention to this because this is going to blow your mind. This technology was based on Dr. Magda Havas's research. She researched how EM radiation, she's from Canada, how EM radiation affects our red blood cells in a cellular level. If you see the 3 blue boxes right here, the bottom box is what a healthy red blood cell should look like in a clean EMR environment. But just after 70 minutes of your computer use or your laptop use, look at what happens to your red blood cell here. Wow. It coagulates, it clumps together, it stacks from one on top of another, and she calls this the term rouleaux formation. Rouleau formation, rouleau means a French word. And basically your red blood cells are stacking on top of one another. When this happens, there's low oxygen flow. You cannot dispose any of your unwanted material waste, which means you're holding more toxins in your red blood cell. And look on the other picture right here, 10 minutes of just your phone use. Let me ask you a question. For those of you who have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube channel, or you're interested in watching YouTube videos, do we only just use our phones for 10 minutes? Yes or no? No. We use our phone for hours. And guess what? Look at that red blood cell formation. It's even worse than your computer use. It's stacking like a coin, or for some of you, it's like a worm. It looks like a worm or earthworm or cacing for those Malaysian friends here, right? So based on this research, what happens? There is poor circulation between your red blood cells. There is low oxygen. There is reduced waste removal. And that causes symptoms like headache, fatigue, difficulty concentration, numbness, tingling, cold extremities in your fingertips. That is what's happening. Now, me and my team, after seeing this research, what we thought, you know what? I'm going to test this on myself. So what I did was, seeing at Dr. Mehta's research, I did a live blood test on myself, and I want to see how EM radiation affects my red blood cell. So I'm going to show you to right now. This is a quick video of me and my dad. You see him behind the white little hair man. And what we did was we put ourselves in 2 trials. The first trial we did was we played for our phones for about 20 minutes. And then we did a live blood test with a prick of our finger to see how our red blood cells are formulating, or how they form. And the second trial that we did was we played with our iPhone. This is my iPhone 14 Pro Max, the exact phone that I'm using in the video. We turn on the technology like emGuarde for the next 20 or 30 minutes and look at that big difference. Let's watch it together. Yeah. So this is me and my dad.
Simon here.
We played our phones, our iPhones, and then we did a live blood test with a prick of a finger. And guess what? Look at that rouleau formation. Oh my goodness. Look at how it rouleaus. Stacking, no oxygen flow, poor circulation causes headaches, migraines, difficulty concentrating. Look at that beautiful bit, like coins stacking on one another, or worms. You could say earthworm, right? And so our second trial, we played with our devices once more and turned emGuarde on. For those of you, I'm wearing a jacket, okay? It's still the same day. Some of you are like, you're wearing a different person, you're like things like that. But look at how a healthy red blood cell should look like. There's a little bit of rouleau because we only did it for like 20 minutes. But that is a big difference. Look at that. I'll show you in the next slide, back to back. Now this is before emGuarde. That's what my red blood cell looked like. It's stacking. It's like a coin stacking one another. It's like an earthworm. There is no circulation, no oxygen. And after emGuarde, look at that big difference, my friends. If this is shocking to you, or like, wow, type wow in the group chat if you see this before emGuarde and after emGuarde and how it affects you cellularly. I thought I was young. You know, I'm 30 years old. I thought that, you know, I'm pretty healthy. Like, I'm young. I can move around. I would, you know, combat this EMR much better. I have better resilience, immune system in my body. But no age is safe from EMR radiation. That's what I learned from this whole experiment. The last research, we have plenty of research, but the last research that I want to show you, remember earlier I asked you about how you've noticed a lot of children nowadays are wearing thick glasses during the pandemic time, or coming out of the pandemic time, or whenever your eye gets really strained from looking at a screen too long, you look out in further distance, or you change your scenery, all of a sudden you're like, oh, your eyesight is just getting like, you know, blurry and trying to readjust itself. It's because of EM radiation. Now, this will be explained by this doctor. This doctor, his name is Dr. Liu Renjie, and he is the vice president of Hee Zong Sin Hime Eye Hospital, and also the director of the Hime Eye Hospital Aesthetic. He is an eye specialist, and what he did was he took 10 participants. If you see this table chart here, N10, N equals to 10, which means number of participants is 10, and he put them in 3 stages. The first stage, he measured the average blood flow of their eye, the average blood flow and microcirculation in their eyes. And what he got in the first stage in the average blood flow is 20.1 out of the 10 participants, the average blood flow. The second stage, he asked them to use 30 minutes of their mobile phone use. And guess what, guys? From 20.1, the average blood flow circulation, it dropped to 16.2 because of mobile phone usage. Wow. And the third stage, he put them in an experiment. He turned a technology like emGuarde, turned it on, and guess what? It increased to 25.9. The blood circulation is even better from the second stage and even the third stage. Some of my friends who've seen this presentation, they're like, Eunice, how come it's even better than the first stage when they're not even using their mobile phone use? Well, if you look around you, you're constantly being exposed to EM radiation, not just your phone, but your car, your shopping malls, your air conditioning, your refrigerator, your microwave, your phone, your TV, your laptops. You're exposed to it from all surroundings, especially if you live in a city or high tension cables. So that's why when emGuarde is turned on, it harmonizes the EM radiation, not just from your phone, but to your surroundings. Amazing. So this is also from the American Anti-Cancer Institute. For those of you who are Kangen users here, you would be very, very familiar with this book. I have this book right here. It's torn. I've read this quite a few times. It's a really great book. It's called Killing Cancer, Not People. It's by a researcher called Dr. Robert G. Wright. And he actually mentions not just about Kangen water machines and how it is the best and how our company is the one that he recommends, even though he does not receive any commissions or whatsoever from recommending our company. In his book, he also mentions about EM radiation and how it affects to obesity, MS, allergies, cancer, and so much more. Autism, Alzheimer's, cancer, and others. And now EMF pollution now includes decrease in immune function and cancer. Yeah, this is what he says. I'm not saying this. He claims in his book. And this book has been sold millions worldwide already. So if you haven't gotten a copy of your book and you love reading, go check it out. It's a really great informational book. It's quite heavy in information. This research also based on, for those Kangen users right here, you also know about this Dr. Otto. He won the Nobel Prize in 1931 of how he learned how all forms of cancer have two basic conditions, acidosis and hypoxia, which means the lack of oxygen. Why is this important? Because hypoxia means lack of oxygen. When your blood cells are stacking like rouleau formation, there is no oxygen blood flow. And deprive a cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours and it may become cancerous. So that is done for our research. We've come to our patented technology called the emGuarde. A lot of people call it a harmonizer. Why? Because it harmonizes electromagnetic radiation up to 1000 megahertz or 1 gigahertz. Now 1 gigahertz is 1000 megahertz. And it's also low maintenance. If you see behind me, it's literally a plug and play. You see this lights is turned on. It's literally low maintenance. That's what I love about this product. It can go up to 5 years. And the coverage of it, if you might ask me a question, it is 8 meters of defense, which means it goes through walls. It can go upstairs and downstairs, depending on the position of your emGuarde. I've taken it with me during a car ride. It's like today I actually drove to Stromban and I plugged emGuarde in my car because I already measured how much EM radiation is coming off that proton and it's just really, really high. So yeah, you can bring it in your car, just plug it in a USB port. Or I've taken it with me on Malaysian Airlines. I've flown to Philippines and Kuching with it and it's completely safe. It does not affect any Wi-Fi. It's not a jammer. If it is a jammer, the government would not approve of this. So this emGuarde, you can take it to you anywhere, you know? Okay, so how does it work? This is what it looks like. The emGuarde technology is breaking the pathways of frequency between 30 to 1000 megahertz, hence reducing the electric field intensity within its coverage. Now, if you ask me, hey Eunice, why is it only up to 1000 megahertz? Now, remember earlier I mentioned that our body is most susceptible and most vulnerable to frequencies between 30 to 300 megahertz. And so that's why emGuarde only covers up to 1000 megahertz because it covers our body that we're most vulnerable, the frequency that we're most vulnerable with. So this is just a quick animation. The last few parts I'm going to show you about the product. EM radiation is coming off your phone. What emGuarde does is it sends out a specific harmonics frequency. Just like this, it breaks the pathways of EM radiation from affecting your eyesight, your brain development, your entire body. And what I like to think about this, if people can't seem to understand, like if they're asking, like, I still don't get it, Eunice, I still don't get it, it's okay. What I like to take in an analogy is, for example, like a train, let me see if I can play this video. Like a train track, this bubble form, the wavelength is like a train tracks. When the train is coming, the train is like your EM radiation. It follows the track. But when you cut the train tracks, you cut some slices of it, can the train tracks still go through? No, the trains can't go through, right? It will probably just, go down or crash somewhere, but it cannot go through. So that's what emGuarde does. It breaks that pathways from affecting your body. And this is also a lab report that I want to show you of how the EM radiation on the left side is before emGuarde and on the right is after. Just the same as that train track analogy, it cuts that EM wave from affecting your body. So that's why it looks like after on testing mode 2, that little picture right there. Yeah, it's from the Shenzhen Compliance Testing Laboratory. All right, now that I'm done with the product of itself, we're going to go right into the pricing of it and how you can make an installment for up to 24 months here in Malaysia. Now, I believe we actually launched Singapore a few weeks back, and depending on the office branch that you have, go back to the person that invited you to this public demo and ask them about how your different offices, like you were mentioning London, Singapore, a few places, and see how their payment plans are made. So the retail price of this emGuarde is 6,620, and for Singapore, it's 2,138.40 cents in Sing dollar. And for Malaysia, we have installment plans up to 24 months. Now, once again, go back to your offices, go back to the person who invited you here. If emGuarde has not made your way to your country just yet, so just be patient. I just want to bring your awareness that sometimes payment plans might look different in different countries. So it's 276, I would just round it off, 276 per month, ringgit per month in installment up to 24 months. Now, 6,620, for me, I think it's not a big investment. You know why? Because 276 ringgit per month, if you actually break it down for 1 month, 30 days, it's about 10 ringgit per month. 10 ringgit per day, sorry. 10 ringgit per day. It's like the cost of your coffee cup here. In Malaysia, Starbucks is really expensive. One coffee mug could go up to like 16 ringgit or 22 ringgit or even higher sometimes. So but a black coffee in Starbucks is about 10 ringgit or less, or a bit less, like 9 ringgit or something.